welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you're wanting to crank up your inner flame and take your light to the max for the new year, then do we have the momentum building show for you. Today we'll talk about shining bright, chasing your dreams, and making the new year your best year possible. That plus we'll talk about group coaching madness, the power of yellow shirts, Hollywood editors, Jessica's crazy marathon, a PR team gone mad, spam filters gone wrong, and how Jessica made me a man. It's definitely not what you think. I don't even know where to go with that one myself. So welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to shine?
I am ready to shine.
Woohoo! So I've got to ask, we were talking about this a little bit off air before we started. How's the transition back to the new year been?
I was just saying that with kids, you go into kid mode where you're on vacation, you're making grilled cheese, you're going out. Your whole life is different when you have kids at home, regardless of what age. And then when you get back, like when they go back from vacation, from vacation to school, you also have to go back. And it's like, where was I? I mean, I was working on 3 different articles. I don't even remember what the articles were. I'm not even sure if I'm going to finish them. I'm not sure. I forgot to post a video because I thought I don't want to post it the day before Christmas. So I looked and I was like, oh my God, I never posted it. So I have to, so I put it on, scheduled it.
I've done things like that where you look at it, and because you've looked at it, you kind of check it off of your mental
you
checklist.
assume it's done, right?
And then, yeah, exactly. And then you're in real trouble.
I've like 3 or 4 things like that, or emails where I'm like, oh, because what happens is I'll be on vacation and I'll get an email and won't respond because I'm like, anytime I schedule something in my calendar, I'm in a different time zone traveling. It always ends up being kooky every single time. So I've learned not to actually schedule anything when someone says I can do an appointment at blah 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 blah. I just don't even schedule it. But then I have to work through those lists. Like I get probably like 20 of those during the time that I'm on vacation. I have to go back and find them. And then sometimes I forget that they even exist. And then I'll go through and clean my email at one point and be like, oh my God, I never got back to them.
Do you have a way that you, because things, particularly, I was joking again off air and saying that an advantage of not having a holiday break is that you don't lose momentum. That's also known as insanity, though. So do you have a way that you have like a giant Archimedes crowbar and start to get things rolling again?
No.
Oh, no.
I mean,
there goes today's show.
Yeah. It just happens naturally. I mean, I think what happens is I go, okay, where was I? And then somehow it kind of, it's like it seeps back into my head. I'm like, oh yeah. And then sometimes I think, if it's forgotten, then it's meant to, it's like, it wasn't that important. If you forgot it to begin with, then, it's not that important. I think I've told you this before in past shows, but there would be when I was at Microsoft, you would get back from vacation for being gone for like 2 weeks. And literally when you're working full time at a company like Microsoft that's very tech oriented, you may come back and get 500 emails, which are a lot of emails to go through. And so I had someone who I know would just delete all the emails. He's just like, it was too overburdening to go through those 500 emails. So he deleted all the emails and said, if it's important, I deleted all my emails. If it's important, get back to me. That's how we manage his email.
Wow. So did he actually have, because I mean, in a sense, we operate that way, which is coaching clients notwithstanding. They email, I email back right away. But other than that, it's kind of on a, if you need me enough, and I haven't gotten back to you fast enough, you'll come find me.
Right. Right. And it's hard because some people think, oh, well, I don't want to bother them because now I'm being too pushy. That's a kind of a Northwest attitude about it. So
that's mine with pitching guests, which is it would be good. I have a list from last year alone, I think of 600 guests, 600 potential guests who didn't respond to emails.
Right.
And I've only put in the one touch. So I get to really, and we've been working on doubling back because I'm like, well, maybe they're not interested right now. I don't want to push them. Right. No, you got to kind of stand in your own 2 feet, take control and say, it's okay to ask a second time. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right. I think actually what happens during the New Year's is the phenomena that happens to me happens to everyone else. And so if you emailed someone before the holiday, it kind of gets lost in this like mist, and so you have to email back. So so that's almost like one reason why not to even bother during the holiday, even looking at email or trying to send email, because there's kind of the likelihood that someone's going to read it and retain it and do something is like probably diminished by 30% just because it's during the holiday. And they may lose it, forget it, just because everyone has these kinds of issues, I think.
Well, you've inspired me because we're going to be doing a lot of guest outreach this weekend.
You are.
And so I'm going to look through and say, who did I email during the holidays? Let's just send them the email again.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Because actually, I sent a whole bunch of people during the holidays, and I've only heard back from, like, I sent a bunch of business authors, probably about 10 of them, and I only heard back from 1/10 of them. And so I think it's just, I probably should do the same thing. Yeah. All right. So what's going on with you? So Group Coaching Madness, what's happening with your coaching?
The group coaching program is coming together pretty awesome. We're going to hold a free class
Oh,
this
fun.
coming Thursday. We may hold a second one after that. So if you're listening to this and you missed it, check on our website. There's a possibility we're going to hold a second free class as well before we dive into the official program, which is going to be a 11-week program. So I'm really excited about that. I want to see how many people we can get to that class. It's going to be about springboarding yourself into the new year, how to get your momentum going,
Oh, cool.
and
That's a great idea.
how to kind of overcome this inertia, just like we're talking about. And so it's on the theme of initiating or taking action. So
Hmm.
really excited about that. This is one time where we feel everything's firing on all cylinders. So you saw Jessica in here right before we went on air,
Hmm.
and she's kind of, she's she's supercharged. She's not, well, she's really been growing into her own, but she's on fire about this one particular thing, and she's like, let me at him. I'll do
What's the
it.
thing that she's charged up at? What's the one particular
Group
thing?
coaching.
Ah,
Group
okay, got it.
coaching, she is on fire
You
about it.
mean
So she's
like,
on fire about a few things,
hmm
but group coaching has been this thing that she woke up about a week and a half ago, and we'd been putting together the program, and she was excited about it. I don't know if it was a dream she had, if it was journaling, what it was. She woke up, she put her feet on the floor, and she's like, this is going to change lives. I mean, this is really going to change lives. Let's do this.
ah,
And
very cool. So is Jessica coaching people with you? Like, how does it work?
yes,
Oh,
yes.
very fun.
So she has
Excellent.
she's always been the puppeteer behind the strings.
Right.
I'm the voice. She's kind of everything that I'm saying she has been really gone through her filter,
Hmm.
and she has every bit as much of wisdom, if not more, in her own way than I do. And so she's not going to say co-coaching. She's going to call herself an assistant coach.
Okay.
So, but she's going to be involved in every step of the process. And I mean, one of the great things about group coaching is a lot of access to me, but now it's going to be a lot of access to her as well.
Yeah,
And I think
fun.
there's that yin yang balance to it that
Yes,
she brings a lot
absolutely.
of open-hearted and caring and compassion and more of the feminine side, which I think is going to make this really special. And that was something, the lesson with Jessica, she's a kitty cat. So
Hmm.
with kitty cats, you speak quietly, no sudden movements, and you never push them to do anything, or they go running the other direction, if not pull out their claws.
Wow.
And and so Jessica, you can't you I wouldn't have even thought to say, would you like to coach with me? Because just that very thing of saying, would you like to coach, implies a pressure behind it.
Yeah.
So she'd probably just roll her shoulders forward and back away very gently away from that. But when she says, I want to do it, she's a front runner. She's a Prefontaine. Put her in the front of the trail. She's gone, and she's taken off right now. So it's really exciting to
That's
see,
great.
and it's almost a relief for me
Right.
because this has been a pet project that well, she spearheaded from the beginning, but a lot of the energetic burden seemed like, in some sense, was on me. I don't know how to put that because she's really been a big part of the project since the
Well, no, when you're
beginning.
actually hosting and you're coaching alone, like you have to hold the space. And so energetically, more of the energy is placed on you have to hold more energy because you're holding the energy for the group, I feel
Yeah.
like.
And so now it feels lighter. It
Yeah.
feels lighter, and it feels like together there's really nothing we can't do if we put our minds and hearts to it.
Hmm.
And so we're really excited because like I've been talking about, the coaching has been just going tremendously well with helping people. And so this is like the next level, Shine Bright 2.0. So,
That's great. Awesome. Okay, give me an example of like a one of a coaching session, what it would look like, the sessions that you've had recently. Give me an example of a preview of what it's like.
oh, a preview. Well, we haven't done group coaching recently.
Okay.
So group coaching's new. So I've just been doing private coaching sessions,
Okay,
which
got it.
is your typical helping with any life challenge that's out
Right.
there.
Right.
Lots of intuitive, lots of tools. The group coaching is following the I Shine Bright formula. So we're going to start off with I, which is to initiate, which is to get the ball rolling, which is to have a level of commitment and to figure out how to start building that momentum and what tools can help you do that. Then we're going to dive into spaciousness or spirituality. We put that up front. Everybody puts that at the back at the end of the book. They're afraid to talk about it. But we know that's the core, that's the foundation. You get your feet underneath you from your spirituality or from that spaciousness in the mind where you're not a mush brain coming into something
Hmm.
because you've had a chance to pause, whether that's meditation, whether that's mindfulness, any of these other beautiful tools. And then we can build off of that. And then we look at health, and we're going to look at, because really, health, your vehicle, your vessel, your body, which houses your soul, if that's not healthy, then it's really hard to do anything. Your
Right.
energy is way down. Even just to meditate becomes a lot of work.
Right.
And so we're going to look at simple ways to start building your health for the new year, but without you having to go out and run a marathon.
Right.
Every step of the way is kind, gentle, easy, good. Then it's tapping into your intuition, helping you discover your purpose, your life plan, what you are meant to do, what makes you on fire, and to be able to hear the small, still voice inside of you that
Right.
helps guide you each step of the way. So, and then it goes on and on. So basically, the two of us are giving the best of the best of what's worked for us and what we've been learning from our guests because we've had 400, 450 guests on the show now.
Right.
So I like to say if you really want to change your life, you want to throw the kitchen sink at things. And we have a lot of kitchen sinks to throw.
Right. Well, what's interesting is that you may have a topic on intuition, and then you would have an interview that you have with the guest that you could say, okay, here's like three different things. So if people want to dive in deep, you actually have the next level for them to go to after they go to the coaching session, which I think is really powerful because not everyone will care about each of those different topics equally, right? It may be intuition, it may be the S or whatever it is of those things. It may be the I piece, whatever it is, they can actually dive into it because you'll have lots and lots of resources. Okay, and what's with the yellow shirt?
So this is one of the shirts that Jessica got me last year that I wasn't bold and brave enough to start wearing. And
Okay,
it's like Lance Armstrong yellow plus. So not
it
neon,
doesn't
but
look
just
neat. It doesn't look bad. I mean, it doesn't look like audacious or anything. I didn't note anything. You wear bright colors.
yeah. And so I'm shining bright for the new year. Now she said there's a gentleman at the gym, he has neon yellow. And she says, if the two of you are standing in the middle of the highway, Michael, you're the one in trouble.
Okay, so what's the power of the yellow shirt? As a result of wearing a shirt, what happens? Do you feel like more charged up?
Woohoo!
Do you?
So colors have an energy to it. They
Yep.
absolutely have an energy to it. And yellow has been the color since before we started the show. People who haven't watched on video, I have these bright yellow matching glasses on, and it's about yellow is about vibrancy and it's also about focus. And
Mm,
it's bringing those two pieces together. And that really seems important for the new year of both cranking the energy to the max, but also having a focal point
mm,
for that energy so you're not scattered all over the place.
interesting. Because there's two different things that I know about colors. One is I just did. Jean Hainer has and her Chinese medicine readings every year has. We all follow the belief is that we actually all follow nature. And so, much like the cycles of nature, we human beings go through the cycles of nature. And so, every year there's a focus and it goes through the feng shui wheel, right? So, it's um, fire, water, fire, earth. There's two different earths, two different woods, metal. And so you go through the whole gamut of things. And then for me, this year was, I think it was Yang Wood, but it's all about reaping the harvest. So it's like it's a time when you've put in a ton of hard work. It's been the end of the season, and you're able to reap in all and harvest all of your good work. And I think she said like the colors during that time are silver and gray, and so she suggests wearing those colors so that you can actually vibrate with the energy that is present around you anyway, so that you're kind of, if you're in alignment, you're in alignment with what's naturally happening with the cycle of nature. And also there's this other body of work. I don't know who created this body of work, but it has different lights and how different lights have different energetic vibrational frequencies, and that those
Hmm.
lights mean different things. So pink is like the light of compassion. So if you are you need compassion, you just imagine pink light shining on you. Have you ever interviewed guests that have that kind of, they have like
Yeah,
different,
there's a gentleman who I'm not going to get his name right now. It's a Eastern European name who we had on talking about auras and talking about the different colors and light therapy and focusing on the different colors light and also colors that are good to wear and colors that you should, in his opinion, never wear as
oh yeah,
well.
change your aura, that guy, right? Change your aura, change
Exactly.
your, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Change your aura, change your life, something
Yes,
like that.
yes, yes. Okay, so what was the color? Do you remember what yellow was?
I'm going to guess it's in the divine category. It certainly has focus and energy associated with
Right.
it.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I think whenever someone has read my aura, they say there's gold, and I have no idea if that's the same as yellow, but it's the same of like focus, mental
Yep.
energy, very, get things done kind of person. That's, and I don't even know, because when people read auras, I always find it kind of confusing because there's the energy that you're emitting, and then there's also like your life aura colors. I even think when both of us interviewed that change your aura, change your life, he was saying that there's a whole bunch of different, or like when you're reading someone's auric field, there's lots of different information in there. But
That makes sense.
yeah, okay, so your color is yellow. So you're kind of, so are you going to wear more yellow aside from your glasses?
I was asking Jessica earlier today because this is a running shirt, and I said I wonder if we can find a polo in this color because last year my favorite polo to wear, and we actually got a replacement polo for that polo over the holidays, has been turquoise, and
Oh
that's
yes,
another
yeah,
one of my favorite colors right now. And I'm still feeling like wearing that, but I think I want to bring out more of the bright colors,
yeah.
more vibrancy, and so certainly get more yellow things. But now I'm not a crazy shopper or spender at all, and it's interesting. This year, some piece of information came into my field a couple weeks ago, and I think it's going to dramatically change a lot of habits in my life. Which is in China, the air quality index typically goes from 0 to 500, 500 being max. And I know I've seen China above 500 before, but a couple weeks ago they were calling it Airmageddon. And they're
Wow.
saying it was 750, 760 in Beijing,
Oh
where
no.
lights are on in daytime to see 50 feet in front of you.
Wow.
And a large percentage, I don't know how much, but a large percentage of the pollution that's over there right now is us here in the West asking them to produce products for us.
Oh wow.
It's our manufacturing now that comes back more slowly, but we're still going to breathe that air over time. But I'm thinking each item that I see that is being manufactured, each widget is another person who's not getting air over there.
Right.
And so I'm really looking at my shopping choices more carefully. I'm even looking at how I run the water in the kitchen sink, going that's energy that comes through that. That's a power plant someplace. That's putting more emissions into the air. And I just felt so bad for
Mm-hmm.
people having to live in air I can't even imagine. And I'm
Mm.
going, this is going to affect all of my shopping habits. And
Mm.
so like, we were purchasing a little bit of new clothes for the new year, And Jessica's like, this is really cute. And which should I get? Which color? And before I probably would have said, well, let's get this one and that one and that one and that one and that one because it's really cute. Let's have fun with it. And now I'm like, why don't we keep that to one or two? It's
Right.
simpler, it's less energy for us, but it's also producing less.
Hmm.
And I think that's a biggie.
Yep, I love it. Well, that's actually interesting. Okay, so what else are you guys up to? So Jessica's been on a crazy marathon. Did we talk about that already?
No, no, she woke up last week and I think it was last Sunday morning, and I think she said it's, and I'll probably get it wrong, and she'll tell me about it after the show. Uh, but she's like, in automatic writing, I heard that I should do a show a day for the next week.
Wow.
Show a day.
Nice.
And so we've recorded 5 shows with her. We've aired 2. We'll let the others out gradually so
Nice.
that Inspire Nation isn't the 7 day a week Jessica only show, or Jessica and me show. But it's been really fun to see her grow and to see her
Yay.
open up and really be open hearted and shine. And she's gone from a place of being a true introvert on the mic. And typically, when you have a true introvert on the mic, you really have to nurse them along, coddle them, be careful of the questions, and realize there are going to be some long pauses in there you're going to have to cut out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's how Jessica was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now she said in going through this marathon, her goal is, can I make these interviews edit free for you? So without the long pauses, without coming apart at the seams, and being able to just let the words flow.
Wow. Excellent. So she has guests or is she just talking solo?
It's her and me, but she'll do the majority of the talking in this. When she comes up with a topic, we talk back and forth. She's inspired to share. She shares. If not, I'm sharing. But she has every bit as much wisdom inside of her as me. Every bit. And so when she gets on a roll, the best thing I can do is go quiet.
Mm.
Conversely, the worst thing I can do is interrupt that momentum.
Do not interrupt an introvert. You'll be
So,
sorry. Having been in a family with 3 introverts, I can tell you that. You know, it's funny because every weekend, my husband and I walk around Green Lake, and those conversations, I thought, I wish I could record these conversations because they're some of the most interesting conversations when the two of us talk about whatever issue it is. Because he has a completely different mind. He's an introvert. It's structured a different way. He thinks through issues differently, and he has a different perspective. And but both of us share the same values. So when we talk, it's all additive. Um, I don't even know how to describe it, but it kind of, he talks about something and he helps me move the issue forward, or I kind of, by tipping it and seeing it in a different lens, or asking questions that I wouldn't have thought of. I don't know. It's actually really, I've always thought that it'd be really fun to actually interview him just talk on the radio, but I don't really know what it would be like because he's such an introvert. So I don't really know. And I have a lot of dear friends that are introverts. So if I could only record the conversations I have with them, they'd be great. So it's great that Jessica is doing that and having that on air. I think that's fantastic. Have you ever interviewed the person Quiet?
no, no, Susan Kane, is it?
Yes, yes.
In fact, it's funny because I interviewed Amy Cuddy, who's also an introvert.
Yeah.
She has the beautiful book and viral TED Talk. It's like the #2 TED Talk out there, Presence. And we ended up having to schedule and reschedule and reschedule. It just, we had to wait for things kind of to align in the universe to get her on the show. And when she came on the show and we started talking about introverts, I brought up Susan's book, and she said, "Well, if you'd like, I can go get her. She's in the other room. This is her house." She was on vacation in like Nantucket or Cape Cod
Right.
with Susan Kane.
You're like, yes, have her on right now. Because it's going to take forever to actually interview Susan. I mean, it takes forever. I had her queued up probably like 2 years ago, and like for some reason it couldn't work. And then like it took like 5 or 6 emails, and I was like, it's just not going to work. So forget about
What
it.
I've experienced with introverts, I'm not trying to classify anybody as this, that, or the other, but they're often some of the best authors out there, which makes sense. Really good with the word and think about it so carefully.
Hmm.
However, it's hard for them to express quickly on the mic. And so I oftentimes find they really want to do the interview, but they have this internal struggle. And
Mm,
so there'll be a cancel, a reschedule, a last minute something comes up and they cancel again because they want to do it, but they try to prioritize it low to allow life to get them out of it because it's a really stressful event for them.
right. That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about it that way. I'm just now cycling back to all the introverts that I've ever interviewed. I haven't had that with all, but I can definitely see how that would definitely be the case. Okay, so let's talk about how Jessica made you a man.
So So this is fun. We were doing some advertisements this week, and forgive me, everybody, I'm still working on this. And
Yeah,
this is kind of a for the new year. It's great to challenge yourself and see how you can improve in all areas.
right,
One area that I need improvement in is when I write out something that says "Come check out group coaching."
right.
It is so sincere. It is so heartfelt. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is going to change lives. This is so cool. And then I got on the mic and I'm like, hi, you want group coaching? No. And so what it's kind of this ebb and flow going on where I started going into the hi, if you want group, and I didn't air these, but if you want group coaching,
Right,
it's okay. You can do this. I'm not coming across as slick. And I was going meek.
right.
And so we spent a good hour in here last week with Jessica listening to me on the mic. And she's never in the studio when I record. She'll
Right.
run as far away as she possibly can, as fast as she can. Ever since we made our mindful running program a couple years ago, and she had 100 hours of video she produced, and she had to edit. And since that point, she wants nothing to do with being near me on the mic.
Why?
Totally,
But why?
if you had to edit somebody to get 100 finished hours
Oh,
of them and their voice was stuck in your head, that's a relationship killer,
I
CJ.
see. Okay, I see.
But she did it with me last week. And what she wanted me to do is come across kind and gentle, but more authoritative.
Mm-hmm.
More, she was calling it, she wasn't saying I was feminine,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, but she was saying I could be more masculine. It's a kind way to put it.
What did you mean?
She meant that she didn't want me going small in the ads
Ah,
and wanted me to, she was saying, step forth into your manhood. Be manly for me, Michael. Be a man. And so I'm visualizing Tony Robbins and, big hunkin'
yeah.
hulk of a guy. And one thing, when Tony speaks, he's got these hands that could like palm, I don't know, a beach ball. Forget about a basketball. And he always has his hands out and his fingers out. And there's something symbolic about that,
Mm,
about spreading out to the world, taking
right.
as much space as you can. Really Amy Cuddy presence nature here
Mm-hmm.
of take that geography. And so what I was doing before each ad is I'm spreading my fingers wide, getting my voice down good. And then I'm like, hi, everyone, Michael Sandler here. And I can't say how much better the ads came out, but my wife was impressed. I
You know,
earned manly points, CJ.
I actually have a dear friend, and he's really interesting. He's he's a gay guy who was raised in a very religious background, so he had to really hide who he truly was, and in fact was married for a period of time, probably like 15, 20 years, was married, had kids and everything. And then finally it's like, this is just not me. I can't do it. And so had to live this kind of false life for a really long time. And then he went to a workshop to discover his manhood. And he he said it was a group of mostly gay men, and they were in the forest in the Pacific Northwest, and they had long sticks that they were carrying around, and they were basically like hitting things like they were swords, and like hitting and parring like with these things, and running through the forest. And because they felt like, as men they weren't able to like express that kind of aggressive masculine energy, and so they were this coach was helping him like really, really embrace and express this kind of aggressive, go out and get it, that kind of, gritty kind of thing. And then they went through and for whatever reason, they were with each other as a group. And so my friend was expressing his like virile masculine energy, and he just like went crazy. He was just smashing this thing. He was thinking about all the things that made him angry, because of being repressed as a child of an evangelical preacher, and not being having to be repressed. So he's just going crazy. And then there's like and there's like a noise or something. I don't know if I got the story exactly right. And there's a man down because he strikes.
Oh no!
He strikes this like 20-year-old fragile boy.
Oh
And he's
no!
on the ground. And he's like, yeah, I did it. It was kind of a mixed thing because he said it was unbelievable to be out there and expressing his male energy and like, moving around and the physicality of that until he heard this like little yelp. And then there was this 20-year-old
Oh no!
nubile boy on the ground.
So what can we learn from
I
this,
don't
CJ?
even know. I don't know. I just think it's a funny story. Here's what I think you can learn from it is I think that for men, I think, and I just interviewed this guy from Australia, and it was called The Successful Male. And I think and he was talking about one of the points that I really liked what he said is that he said, women have had a women's liberation where they've looked at societal standards and started questioning them and not letting them define them and kind of always pushing the envelope on like who are we as women, what do we believe in, what are the societal constraints that we're throwing off of us, right? But men really haven't had that similar experience. And so I think as men, you're born with testosterone, you're born with all this energy and expression and stuff, and to not be able to express that because it's not politically correct, because it's scary to people, because you're considered a bully, whatever it is, or that you're taking up too much space. Like I think it's probably very confusing for men to live in this environment, I think, because you get mixed messages. On one hand, you have like the Axe body spray to like put some Axe body spray, go to a nightclub and like, meet the babe of your dreams. And then you're like, but then when you meet with her, you have to ask first if you have permission to kiss her. Like there's like, right?
Well, today you have to ask first for permission to open the door for
I
her
know,
because she
like,
may not actually appreciate
I know.
that.
So it's this like very mixed message. So I think what I like what he's doing is like trying to liberate men from like the stereotypes that men have had to play over a period of time. So I think so that's what I like about this. And I think actually being a gay man, there's probably a set of things that you're supposed to be too, right? It's just I think that adds another layer of complexity over what it means to be a man. And so I think that's what I thought was so interesting. The fact that he hit the 20-year-old is totally irrelevant. It's just funny to me because
not for the 20-year-old, it isn't.
the 20-year-old
totally relevant.
But he went crazy, which he never does. And when he did
So
it,
it was
he
good that he started to express himself to
so
get that out.
That was the wonderful thing. But the funny part was that he struck this young man. Anyways, so that has nothing to do with the story. It's really the beginning part that I think is interesting.
Taking that kind of and bringing it back to the new year, although it's not easy to just say, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a great time to challenge ourselves to look in the mirror and start to bring more of ourselves to the table in the new year. What a perfect time to kind of either reinvent yourself or a lot of what Jessica's been talking about on the mic now that she's got her voice is about being open-hearted and leading forward and being genuine, true to yourself, and sharing your true, authentic voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, going back to the gender piece, I mean, I've been in predominantly male environments my whole life. I am a tomboy. All of my friends in high school were guys. Most of my friends, once before getting married, were all guys. I'm just like the kind of like prototypical tomboy. And then I worked in finance, which is predominantly a male industry. And then I worked in software, which is predominantly a male industry. So I'm a woman within those industries. And what had happened after having, 25 years in corporate America is that I felt like I had become a man. Like I actually didn't even know what it was to be a woman anymore because I had drummed it all out because
Wow.
all the things that, and this is probably less true today because I think corporate America is really shifting because there is more gender diversity than there was. But yeah, I actually had to, I had like hid things like my gestures, which were feminine. I stopped doing them. There are all these different things, and it wasn't until I left Microsoft that I was exploring who am I. In one aspect, I am a woman, but I feel like I'm a woman. I'm I'm actually a man in a woman's body because I had had those 25 years of training. So I had to do a lot of work on myself figuring out what it means to be a woman because I had lost sense of that for so long. So, and I think that that's the general theme, right? There's an aspect of you that is innately who you are. And this time of year, or maybe this is the time in your program to start looking at it and saying, well, who is it that I innately am and that I've like covered up, lost in the process of growing up? And how do I resume or go back to those things? Because that's what's natural, right? That's your natural strength that I've somehow covered up, right? To be a woman is who I am. It's a strength that I've somehow covered away.
Yeah, it's when I say to shine bright, what I really mean is we all are shining bright. We all have that divine spark, that divine light within us, and we're all beaming yellow, gold, bright into the world. But we have all these layers on top of that that bring an opacity to it that makes it harder and harder to see that light.
Yep.
And so we have to start figuring out what's not mine,
Right.
what's not serving me, and one layer at a time, catch one more thing about ourselves and go, wait, that's not me. That's not who I want to be. That's not what I used to be.
Right.
And peel and peel and peel.
Yeah. It's remember the Star Trek? They had the Borgs, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the Borgs were these people who were like they were probably human in origins, but they became more computer like. They were like one organism, and they had like all these little bolts and plates and stuff that had kind of like been patched on them as they became one. They lost all their individuality, and I think that it's reversing that, and it's a paradoxical thing, because in some ways we want to always honor that we are all one and we're connected, and at this end be connected to community and be part of community and be accepted by community, but that at the same time we also have to start throwing off those shackles that really um, hide who we truly are. And I think
Yeah,
that that's if that's what you're doing with your program, I think that's so important to do at any
exactly.
age, at any time. But in the new year, there's that momentum, that like transformation, change, setting anew. It's the perfect time to do it, I think.
I hadn't thought of this word, and I don't know why the Borg. And when I think Borg, I think resistance is futile.
Right.
But I hadn't thought of the word individuation,
Hmm.
a fancy word that means to figure out who the hell you are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of what it's kind of recognizing that you are part of a community, you want to be part of that community, but at the same time, recognizing at what cost you've lost who you truly are to fit into that community. I think that that's the trick.
And I think, and this is, I'm again coming back to Jessica, I'm so glad she's going to be coaching this with me. She's realizing that if she wants to enjoy the rest of her life and not be miserable and feel like I'm just doing this because I need to do it, not because it's my passion or dream or hope or goal or anything, is that she needs to be true to her essence, true to
Hmm.
herself at a core level. And if she does that, first off, the things she's doing either become more fun and she goes after them with vigor, or like heck, I'm doing that. She's going to punt them away as fast as she can because once you're very clear at your center with who you are, you tend to shut away anything that makes no sense or that will, I'm not going to wear that boat anchor.
Right.
Get that thing off of me now.
I just this gentleman that I interviewed yesterday on the Successful Male. He said, you know how I can't remember where he got this definition of success, or perhaps he created it himself. He said, I define sex, or the definition I like about success that I really resonated with me is that I do what I want, when I want, how I want. And when I do those things, then I have reached success. And I think that that was really interesting because when I thought about that, I thought, well, what's so interesting about that is that the core value that is inherent in that statement is freedom.
Yes, exactly.
And I think we actually we're in a society where we can be free, we can freely express ourselves, but yet oftentimes a lot of us don't.
This is my book of intentions I'm holding up here. Just a
Yeah.
humble little purplish blue composition book. And what I have all my coaching clients do, you may do a similar thing. And when I write down my intentions for the day, week, month, or year, I always put the emotion behind it. What's the state that you're trying to reach? Because when you link to the state, to me, that's the most powerful way of attracting in anything to your life. Because I certainly don't know what's best for me in a sense, because there's something much grander going on. So if I go, I want specifically X, Y, and Z, that's real limiting.
Right.
But if I want X, Y, or Z or something greater, and really what I'm looking for is this state of emotion, it's more likely to happen. And my number one state I've been writing down is freedom.
Yeah, that's
Because
funny.
to me, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm on a mission. I'm on fire to help change lives. At the same time, I want to have my life too. We all deserve to have our lives. And so it's not about how can I squeeze more out with how can I do more work? It's about what can I do that reaches the most people while giving me the most freedom.
Hmm.
And if I'm doing that, I feel tremendous relief, joy, happiness, the list goes on and on. And so I link to that state freedom. I'm so glad you brought that up every time that I'm writing in my book of intentions.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is that we don't live as free people, even though we're in a society where we have ultimate freedom of everything, right? I mean, there's societies where you can't really say what you want, do what you want, when you want to do it. But we actually have, like, it's one of the greatest joys that we could have if we actually were willing to express it. But I don't think we often do because we have too many shoulds, woulds, coulds, have tos surrounding us, I think.
I don't know if it was the Matrix. I think it was Morpheus in the Matrix. We're going sci-fi today.
Yeah.
Who is saying, let go or step out of the prison of your mind,
Yes.
which is we're only as free as we allow ourselves to be.
Hmm.
And we often don't know. I always come back to this Buddhist term of obscuration, which means these layers of filters, of clouds, the layers of the onion I was talking about a minute or two ago. We don't even realize the level of programming on us that keeps us from being free. We had on yesterday a former Harvard professor. He held at that time the largest Harvard class ever, which was on positivity,
All
Tal
right.
Ben-Shahar.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, I said, what words of wisdom would you give for parents and kids today? And he said, I'm going to really go against the grain with this one. And he said, number one is less electronics time and very careful control over what they're able to see.
Hmm.
And I said, yeah, I'm like, look at the movies today. It's all of this stuff gets pumped into our brains. And he goes, step beyond the movies. And I've thought about this myself. He goes, 30% of the time that kids or 30% of what kids consume, and we as adults as well, through electronic media is advertisement.
Mm.
And that each and every one of those ads is changing the way we think.
Hmm.
So when we try to free ourselves, we have to let go of all these layers of today. It's capitalism gone mad, or materialism. That's the word. Materialism gone mad, which is this house isn't enough. This car isn't enough. Nothing's ever enough.
Hmm.
And we can't be free. It was another thing he talked about, which is 20, 30 years ago, the majority, they did surveys. What would bring you greatest happiness? And most people coming out, I think, into the job world after college were saying they want to have meaning and purpose in their lives. That will bring them happiness. And if I have wealth, great, but meaning and purpose is first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Today it's flipped completely on its head. Wealth is what you want first. Meaning and purpose is pushed way down. But the trick is, meaning and purpose is what's going to make you feel complete.
Right.
No
Right.
matter how many dollars, and I'm not opposed to having lots and lots of money, go for it. It's great. It does awesome things in the world, and it gives you a sense of freedom, but only if you can free yourself to use it.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's funny. You should interview this guy. I can't even remember his name right now. The guy, the successful male, Ron Malhotra. It was really interesting talking to him because we were having this exact same conversation. In fact, I had this same conversation now, probably this same conversation about meaning 3 times in the last 24 hours about how it's all about meaning that brings you happiness. Um, and that you can't necessarily discount. What's that?
I'll let you finish, and then this is
Well,
for
yeah, so
conversation.
I think it's two things. One is that you can't discount the importance of money either. Like if you say like,
No, no
and
way.
what was interesting about this gentleman who coaches a lot of men is that he said they fall into two different camps. They're either really oriented towards money and they're having material success, but they don't feel any meaning, or they're actually on deep, deep, deep in a spiritual path, but they are against making money. So, which I thought was totally fascinating that there are these two different groups and they're like mirror images of each other. And the reality is that you have to care about both, right? We're part of a material society, so we have to care, we have to eat and live and all those different things. So it's about both. Um,
And
so,
that's honoring yourself. It's something that I've seen. Maybe it was particularly being on Maui and being in the spiritual community there, but there was this sense of if you're spiritual, you can't like money, you can't enjoy money, you can't strive for money, or you're not being spiritual.
right,
But the fact of the matter is, money is energy.
right,
Everything is energy.
right,
And so to say, I'm going to cut off one of the flows of energy because no, I'm just spiritual, that's like lopping off your arm
right.
and saying that makes me a better person.
Yeah,
It just lops off your arm and it hurts like hell.
right.
You can be the most spiritual person in the world and have lots and lots of money.
Yeah. Well, the other
It's
thing, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it's not that people hear the line of the Bible, which is money is the root of all evil,
Hmm.
and it's not money is the root of all evil. It's they miss the beginning part of the sentence. The love of money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
When that's what you're focused on is money for money's end, that makes you make really wonky, bad decisions.
Right, right.
When it's just one piece of the puzzle and a beautiful tool, that's great.
Right. Yeah. I think it's yeah. I think another slice of this that I got yesterday, this is the second time I heard the same comment, was when this gentleman who had done all this research on trying to figure out, he was a finance and background, and he thought, I want to come up with an equation for happiness. And so he said the equation for happiness was about, compassion and consideration and respect and responsibility, and there's like two other C's that I'm forgetting. Um, but anyways, he had said that what was interesting is when he looked through all the different, like thousands and thousands of books about leading a life of success and happiness, the one that was really prominent in terms of books and things were about consideration and making sure that we're considerate and we can think about the other guy. And he said, but when he talked to people, the one that
Hmm.
was most responsible for happiness was responsibility. And so it's another a look at the same kind of dynamic where somehow we don't have to be responsible for our financial, wherewithal, our responsibility to our families, all those different things, showing up on time at work, all those different things, respecting other people. He said respect and responsibility are the ones in some ways that he thought were probably the most important in his own life, and then also when he talked to people about their lives. But a lot of the other stuff was kind of um, overshadowed. The other stuff like commitment, compassion, and stuff. Not that those things aren't important, but in some
Hmm.
ways, when it's almost like we were tipping so far on the compassion consideration that we're forgetting about responsibility. I think that's a key concern, I think, when you go down the spiritual path, I think.
Yeah, it's one that maybe I hadn't thought of it in these terms, and I'm kind of armchair quarterbacking Jessica here, but we've both been really stepping into our own power, stepping onto our own 2 feet, and that is a level of self-respect and responsibility for ourselves. Of saying it's something I've talked about a lot recently, which is prayer and surrender is awesome, is everything, and at the same time you still have to take the responsibility to grab onto the damn ladder.
Right.
You know, if you say God's going to provide, and the ladder there for the helicopter that's going to take you away for the flood is dangling in front of
Right.
you, you owe it to yourself to grab the ladder. You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
That's taking responsibility.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the color yellow, right? That if you actually use yellow as aligning to the chakra, so it's the
Mhm.
red is first, second is orange, and then third, which is your solar plexus, is this area called solar plexus? This area here?
Solar plexus,
Yeah.
root, yeah.
Yeah. And that's all about will, right? It's about will and determination and focus and all those different things. So it goes back to that, which is your theme color right now is yellow.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
So we've got to start wrapping things up.
Yeah.
But what's interesting when you're talking about meaning, and that it's been coming up many times, we had a publicist recently pitch us on a book by John Gordon, The Carpenter.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful book. And then we were pitched again on the book, The Carpenter. And then we were pitched again on the book, The Carpenter. And then we were pitched again.
Oh my gosh, what the heck?
So I'm holding up for people who can't see it, 4 copies of the book, The Carpenter. And so I had John on last year on the book, The Carpenter. I absolutely love the book. And I was thinking we'd do another book this year, a different book. But clearly there was a will, a power, a strength at work that was saying, you really want to do The Carpenter. And so I had the most magnificent interview. It was a fairly short, fast-paced interview earlier today. It'll come out actually a few days before this one. It'll be out on Monday. Loved it. One of the big pieces of it was we were talking about meaning.
Oh, wow.
So this was, again, a continuation of this concept. He was saying the 3 main things that you need are love, care, and serve, or love, kindness, and serve. Serve others, come from a place of heart, But to find true happiness, you need to find your purpose and meaning. Mm-hmm. Without that, none of the other pieces come together.
Absolutely. I completely can say that that's true for my own life. And I think probably is a formula, is about purpose, passion, meaning. Comes from that. It's a derivative of that. Once it's the thing that you're saying, you have to know who you are. And who you are means, like, what is my purpose? What are the things I'm passionate about? Because if you don't know that, then you have this you're given these God-given gifts and skills and not being able to use them. And using them is what gives you meaning.
Absolutely. And so I would challenge people in the new year, and we're doing that in our Eyes Shine Bright program. Also, there's great books you can do, or you can literally just start by sitting on the cushion, journaling. I'm a huge fan of automatic writing, and start to get to know yourself. This is the time. This is the first week of January. I guess you're listening to this and probably around January 12th, second week of January. And it's the time to say, I'm not going to have another year on autopilot. Because it's really, really easy in our society, and I checked today, we're 198 countries now, probably in almost every society, it's really easy to get pulled into a reactive mode. And you're here on December 31st going, oh crap, another year went by.
Right. Yeah.
And instead, you just start to get to know yourself now. Hi, Michael, who the heck are you?
Well, what's interesting, I just did this tarot card reading with James Walness about, we were talking about, the among liberals, there's just this whole worry, fear, doubt about the Trump administration, um, and I said, "What? Let's actually pull a card at the end to say, what is it that we can do about all of this?" And the card that came up was the Chariot. And it's like, you know what? You can't control the external environment. You can control your life, your freedom, and it's up to you. There's no one else but you who is going to do that. So this is the time. Like, what are you waiting for? This is the time to make it happen, right? Who else is going in control of your life? If not you, who else is going to do it? You
This
know?
is huge. Stepping into our own power,
Right.
which is something we shouldn't be apologetic about. If you want to truly shine bright, you have to step into your own
Right.
power. I say we owe it to ourselves, each and every one of us,
Right.
that playing it small is done. Call that that's so 2016. We've got to step into our power. And yes, and I keep the show apolitical, but if you want change in the world, truly, Gandhi, you need to be the change. And if you want to make a difference, you can't play it small.
Yep.
You have to let out who you've got inside.
Yes, absolutely. Woohoo! Like that's a perfect
Woohoo!
end. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
I think I'm good. I think I covered it all. I encourage people to check out I Shine Bright Coaching at inspirenationshow.com/group dash coaching. And we have a free class on the 12th for everybody. And we may have a second free class on the 19th. Just check on the website. You'll be able to see about that. But I mean, it's our whole goal. I'm guessing it's your whole goal too, is to help people to crank up their inner flame. And it really does start with being able to look in the mirror and figure out, who in the world am I? And then to bring your best you forward without pressure, without judgment, but just taking that step forward.
Love it.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. I would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.